We're going to try the knotting solution again with the cladding that we're putting on the walls, and the reason being we're using white paint and we're using a primer as well. So if we put 2 coats of primer and 2 coats of top coat, we're really hoping that that knotting solution won't actually show through.
If you're new to this channel, we're James and Sarah, also known as The Whole World or Nothing.
We used to be full-time backpackers, exploring the world and writing about our travels in our blog.
And then the world changed.
We got repatriated from Peru and found ourselves back in the UK at a loose end. So we decided to do a van conversion.
Make sure you hit subscribe now so you can join us in this series as we share the highs and many lows of converting an old Mercedes Sprinter panel van into our dream home on wheels.
We're going to give it a go on the test piece that we did the other day with the knotting solution and see how that actually works, because I think we will need knotting solution on the white walls because otherwise it is just going to leak through. I just did a little bit of research on softwood, and apparently softwood is really bad for it, and this being spruce or pine or whatever it is.
Yeah, spruce.
Spruce, yeah, won't be good, and it looks crap when you just get like a yellow bit coming through a white bit of wood, so we need to do something. So we'll test that out, and then we'll just get sanding down and white spiriting, preparing the other bits of cladding, and then see where we get to.
So the paint that we've gone for, the undercoat, primer and undercoat, is just like a basic one from, do we get it from B&Q?
Yeah.
I can't even remember. Yeah, it's just like their like own brand one, I think. And then it was just basically the cheapest that we could find, but it also wasn't very cheap either. So then we've got this Dulux Paint, which is a white, but it's also an eggshell, which means it's like a low shine. So there's high gloss, satin, and eggshell. So we didn't want it like shiny, you know, like you have like shiny skirting boards and stuff like that. We didn't want it to look like that on the walls. But obviously we wanted it to be like wipeable in case you like get dirty fingerprints on it or anything like that. So hopefully that's going to be okay and quite nice. So yeah, that's the paint that we're using and the primer.
So basically we're painting it white.
Yeah.
Could have said that in 4 words.
So we set about the mammoth task of painting about 80 individual pieces of cladding.
You ready for this?
I think so, it's quite early. There's so long that you have to leave between the layers of coats of paint. So this top layer that we're using, you have to leave 6 hours in between. So in order for us to get 2 full coats on, that's 12 hours. So yeah, we're up crack of dawn, it feels like. It's not really, it's like 8 o'clock. So that we can get 2 full layers on today. And yeah, we're going to just be doing bits and bobs in between in the van.
Actually, that leads to one small piece of advice from me. If you're going to paint anything, read the tin before you buy the paint. Then you know what you have to do, how long you have to wait. Another piece of advice would be not to assume that just because something calls itself quick drying paint that it will actually dry quickly, because it probably won't.
So while we're waiting for this little lot to dry for the next coat, we're working on the templates for the back doors. What's going on? What are we doing?
Well, we're going to clad the back doors as well. We already have the ply lining that was on the van originally, and it's actually really accurate. We're going to put new ply in because it's not in the best condition, but we're going to use it as a template for the cladding that's going to go on top of it. What we've done now is just made up the cladding that fits for the size of the door, and we've laid the byline template over it. We're going to draw around that so that we can cut each piece to fit exactly. And then we are going to paint it, and then to actually put it on, we're going to stick it all together with wood glue. We're not going to use cladding clips this time, and then we're going to stick it to the piece of plywood that is going on, and then we're going to screw it to the back doors using screws that will go into the metal. So fingers crossed that'll work.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. It's all going so well. But this is why we love the British weather, right? So 1 minute it was brilliant sunshine, and then the next it was absolutely pelting it down with rain. Everything that we were doing got soaked.
It just came so fast. We had like so much wood out.
We had all of our wood out.
Exactly.
Every single piece of wood.
Like all our newly nice painted wood and all our brand new flat plywood.
So hopefully it doesn't ruin all the wood. I mean, it was a pretty heavy downpour, but it didn't last that long.
Yeah.
We've put it all away to dry now, and
In the house.
In the house, and now it's sunny again.
I know.
But do we trust it?
Do we almost?
We couldn't do anything else outside that day as it rained on and off for the rest of it. But the next day, we cracked on trying to make up for lost time by cutting and gluing the doors together and putting another coat on the cladding for the walls.
Painting is probably the second most boring job you can do on a van build, just behind sanding, which is properly mind-numbing. So we stuck on a podcast and just systematically worked through the lengths. We got all of those bits of cladding painted. We're waiting for them to dry. In the meantime, we're going to turn our attention to the doors, and what we're going to try and do is hang them using the same holes that the screws that was holding the old ply line in up, which will mean that we have to get the holes in exactly the same place. But fortunately we still have the template, so what we're going to do is lay it over the doors. We'll mark off where all those holes are, and then we're going to do some pilot holes in the doors that we've made and hope that they actually fit on. This is the old bit of ply lining. You can see these are the holes where it was screwed on previously, and just so that we don't have to kind of make any more holes in the van, we want to try and utilize exactly the same ones. Hopefully that should work. We just need to find some screws that are going to hold this up. Just before we started putting the holes into the actual doors, we decided to check them against the doors of the van just to make sure that they all fitted, and there are a couple of last minute adjustments that we need to make. It's mainly just around these bits that fit over the door hinges because they are slightly too tight, so Sarah's just going to chop a little bit more off of those, and then we can get on with actually drilling the holes.
Alright, we've got all these nibbled down to size now, so we've just been figuring out how we are definitely going to attach them to the doors, because we thought we were just going to use the holes that were there previously that the old ply liner was on, but actually we don't think it's going to work because it's not exactly the same size, and also this is a different thickness. So we're just going to drill some new holes with the self-tapping screws, but we'll try to decide whether we were going to countersink them or not, like countersink them and fill them so that you couldn't see the screws basically, but we think we're not going to bother. We're just going to screw them in. We think it looks alright. We've tested it on a scrap piece of wood. So yeah, we're just going to varnish them up and get them on, innit?
So for anyone that's in any doubt, we make it up as we go along basically.
We think we're doing one thing, we say we're doing another thing, and then we actually do something completely different.
First coat of varnish is on. We're just going to get those doors out of the way because the cladding at the back end where Sarah is right now is ready to go on. So we're going to move this door, we're going to set up our cladding station, and we're going to start firing that cladding onto the walls. As we detailed in our last video about cladding the ceilings, we used cladding clips to secure them on and found them really quick and simple to use. So despite taking ages to paint, actually installing the wall cladding was really fast.
Alright, just getting geared up for another early morning painting session. Should hopefully be the last one, maybe, right?
Hopefully.
This is where we got to with the walls last night. So hopefully going to get that side finished today. and then we'll see where we're at. Well, we've finished a wall.
Have we?
Yeah.
What? Oh, what's that?
It's on. This is the reading light, isn't it? Look at that.
Check that out.
Boop, boop, boop.
That is
It's
pretty
USBs.
sweet.
It's got 2 USBs actually. I thought it just had one. Obviously, we've still got to do the trim, and we've got to make the shelf and that for the window area, and put a bit of trim on this side. But yeah, it's in. I absolutely love it, and it's already made it feel so much bigger in here, which is one of the reasons we were doing it in white. So we're just doing this bit down here now, putting the cladding on this wall coming down here. Because we took the roof under this batten up here, there's a little bit of an angle here, likewise here, so we're going to finish this off with some trim. So yeah, we're just working our way around, getting the cladding on. I think we forgot to turn the time lapse on for the last bit of the cladding actually, so, but you get the picture, like, you just build it down from the top.
We've got down to the part of the cladding where it is going to meet with where we're intended to tile, and Sarah's just had an idea, or a thought, that it's probably going to look neater if we actually tile first and then clad up to it rather than the other way around.
Yeah, I mean, I don't actually know. I think we could probably make both look alright.
Both would work, but I think you're definitely right that it would be neater.
Yeah.
Because the thing with tongue and groove is that at this edge here, there's a very small V, and that wouldn't be covered by the tiles if we tiled afterwards. So you'd get a tiny little bit of that wood showing through. It wouldn't be noticeable really, but
we'd know.
we'd notice it. Which means we're going to switch jobs now. We're going to stop doing that cladding. In fact, we're going to have to take that last one that we put on off and tile this wall instead.
I don't think we've spoken about the tiles that we've got yet. And I don't know, I've always been a bit dubious of these, like I wouldn't necessarily put them in a house, but actually for what we need them for, they're perfect, and we actually really quite like them. The idea is that you just stick them to the wall basically. The sticky back is already on there, so you just peel it off. The hardest bit is going to be making sure that they're straight, obviously.
And they're 3D as well, aren't they?
Yeah, so they've got like, when you run your finger over them, you've got like a little like bit where the pretend grouting is. So they do have quite a nice effect on them, I think. I do like them.
Tiling is totally possible in a van though, right? We've seen quite a few people doing it. We just didn't want to risk it, because the thing with tiling is that with a moving vehicle, they can fall off.
Yeah, exactly. Everything that we've done, we've tried to create less weight. Does that make sense? Lesser weight as possible. We tried to not add unnecessary weight.
Exactly.
And we just felt like, on top of the tiles might crack, might fall off, something like that. The added weight as well, when we actually did quite like these, that we'd probably just go for these.
We'd highly recommend these stick-on tiles for the reasons we've just talked about, and while they're fiddly to put on, it's much quicker and easier than actual tiling. However, we still feel faint just thinking about the price, because at 40 quid per square metre, they're not exactly cheap.
Even if I do say so myself, look at that tiling. That's pretty sweet. Sweet as! What do you reckon?
It's really nice.
It's looking good, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we've smashed that out, and now we're moving on to cladding again.
A little bit of cladding.
A little bit of cladding. We're starting on this wall. Underneath that section of cladding is going to be tiles, so we're just kind of working off a template to get that bit right, and then we're going to put a bit of ply onto that section, and then we're going to do the same here.
We can't put this ply on right, can we, until we've plumbed in the shower?
Well, that's the
pipes
thing.
are going to go in here.
Our shower is going to be on the other side of that wall, so it is going to have to be left open for the time being, but we can do the template.
Yeah.
And get it cut even, just ready to go on. Yeah, and then we can crack on with the other wall.
Yeah.
We're just going to show you why everything takes probably about 5 times as long as you think it does when you're building a van. Take a look at this behind me. We're doing this top piece of cladding as I just explained, and we thought we'd absolutely nailed it. Fits pretty nicely at the top, right?
Yeah.
And down the sides.
Just literally about to nail it in.
We were about to put it on, yeah. But check this out, I'm just going to show you why we can't.
Don't match, does it?
Now, to a normal person that might be alright, but we're a little bit anal about these things, and we want the grooves of the tongue and groove to be, well, to line up.
Yep.
And that just doesn't. So, we're going to have to make a new template. We're going to have to recut all of those pieces, drop it down a little bit so that it lines up, and yeah, see if we can get that done in a reasonable amount of time, because it's starting to do my nutting.
Well, the other thing is, and what people might be thinking is, why don't we just cut that? You know, cut a bit off that so that this sits with that. But the problem is then that this piece wouldn't match the other side of the van.
Yeah, because on the other side we started with a full piece,
So
and that just wouldn't be right either.
we want this bit to match that bit.
Yeah.
I need a hand.
Okay. Well, now.
Yeah, please. Alright, it took an absolute age, didn't it? Or it feels like it. But
I think it did actually take an absolute age, yeah.
it's in.
It is in, and it is level with this piece, so...
Let's have a look. Whoa.
all worth it.
Yep.
It's little details like this that repeatedly cost us time throughout the build. But when we first started the project, we made a promise to each other that if we were going to do it, we were going to do everything to the very best of our abilities, even if it meant redoing stuff until we got it right.
Alright, we're going to call it a day, aren't we?
Yeah, we're wrapping up. It's quite early for us. Usually we crack on until
It's dark.
Till it's dark, till like 9 or 10 o'clock. But we're both feeling absolutely exhausted after putting in kind of 12, 13 hour days for, I don't know.
Over a week now.
Over a week, yeah. Pretty happy with what we've actually achieved today. We wanted to get all of this corner finished, but it's actually not going to be possible anyway, because we can't put it on until we've done the plumbing, so there's not really much point in doing it. And we're knackered, so we don't want to start making mistakes.
Yeah, and then
having to correct them later on. So I think what we're going to do is call it a day.
before we have an argument as well.
Yeah, we're both getting a little bit ratty. So we're just going to look after ourselves a bit, get some dinner, have a bath, have a nap, do a bit of relaxing, early night, and then get on it again tomorrow morning. The queen of the templates has done it again.
Well, we don't know yet.
It looks good. Have you ever thought about becoming a templateist?
Is that a thing?
Yeah, it's a job.
Why not?
Freelance. People hire you out just to go and do a template for them.
That's alright, I can do that.
It's quite lucrative actually.
Yeah?
If anyone wants template making, hit us up in the comments. But seriously, what is that?
And this is the template for the top bit of the sliding door. So for the plywood that's going to be at the back of it, and then the cladding that's going to be glued onto the plywood.
Okay.
So I'm trying to do it like as tight as possible so that it covers all the metal on the door, without it affecting the door opening and shutting. So hopefully that's going to work.
We used a very similar process to the doors and cut a plywood back to glue the cladding onto, before attaching it in place with black self-tapping hex head screws. And it rounded off a pretty successful week as the van really started to take shape.
Well, that's it for this week, peeps. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up and drop us a comment down below to let us know what you think of the progress. If you're new around here, then now's the time to minimise the vid, hit that sub button and click the alarm bell so you get notified every time we publish a new vlog. Next week, we try to figure out how to use a router and realise we don't even know how to pronounce router and make a start on our kitchen cabinets. Catch you then.